One of the worst jobs at lambing, some people think, on a start, is tagging lambs at birth and matching them up with, their ewes, which are scattering everywhere. We will soon describe as the traditional way of doing it. Of course, we've got DNA parentage, but the next phase, joining us now to discuss the new technology known as Smart Shepherd, is animal geneticist Aimee Charteris. Aimee, for our audience who are not familiar with this whole process that we do here on farms, currently as we tag and measure lambs and connect them with the ewes, can you talk us through the current process and moving forward into the future?
Of course I can, Sarah. Obviously you've mentioned DNA, and there's more traditional methods of recording parentage. The more traditional method is carefully matching up animals, which you'd be surprised, there's a lot of that that still happens in the industry, and they do a very good job because generally these people are very meticulous. DNA, on the other hand, I think most people understand how that works. You take a tissue sample from an animal, you send that away to the lab, it takes sort of 4 to 5 weeks, and you get a result back. Obviously, previously taking a sample from mum and dad, so that you can get that match. However, the future, which is what I'm here to talk about tonight, is Smart Shepherd. It's a new novel technology, which is incredibly exciting, and probably, I won't go into it right now, but it's got so many other potential opportunities, not just obtaining parentage. So if everybody hasn't seen one, I've got one here tonight. So here's a wee collar. The way this works is you collar mum and baby, and it's reasonably quick. So you match the collar with the RFID tag, and then you leave it on for 48 hours. You take the collar off, both mum and baby, and you send that back to us, and we download the information, and all the work is done by software. So it's a very quick, smart way, I guess, to obtain what would take, probably with the more traditional methods, sort of up to, well, I've heard of some people anyway, up to 3 months of matching, particularly in the bigger flocks.
So the data that you're obtaining through this, what in particular are we measuring and why?
Okay, so there's a number of things that we can measure. One, we can obtain maternal pedigree, and so that's really just who mum is. But the cool part about this is that, and we're terming it maternal initiative, but basically what the technology does is it measures the number of times mum and baby are interacting, but it also measures the distance at which they're interacting. So it really gives us a sound understanding about the ewe-lamb bond, which is the first time that we've had the ability to do that. I mean, basically you've got animals in their own natural environment interacting, and something silently sort of keeping an eye on them. What I really love about it is lamb survival has been a really large issue. We haven't moved from the 150%, whether we're talking sort of breeding or commercial farms, and that's the exciting opportunity here. Increasing lamb survival and therefore weight of lamb output, whether you're talking breeding or commercial, is fundamentally an exciting proposition.
So basically we're going to cull based on being a poor mother. I feel for merinos and this coming from that. Or is that just an assumption that merinos are bad mothers?
That's just an assumption. We've done some work with the merinos and they're really surprising. I think there's great potential there. So, starting from a low base often means you can go pretty high. So that's the really exciting part about it.
Okay, so this is fantastic technology that yourself and Mike Tate, formerly working on that PGP fund of the Omega Lamb Project, which of course the headwaters moving into Tamana lamb. It's very successful. Now you're always hungry for the new challenge, Aimee. Yourself with Mike have paired up to do this technology, but of course it really needs some grunt in the next phase and funding. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, so a lot of the work has been done around the breeding system, but we want to develop this and take it into a commercial system to make sure the technology is applicable, I guess, to sheep production systems out in the commercial world. Now, what that means is we have to make sure that it can be applied in a really efficient way and form. It needs to be applied at events that are already happening on farms. And, the return of the information is just as quick. But basically, it's all about identifying the best performing ewes so that you can use that information to not only improve land survival, but improve the profitability of the bottom line of that sheep operation. So we're in the process of developing a commercial ewe selection index and a commercial system which will take into account body condition score, weight of lamb outputs, which we'll get through the smart shepherd collars, and a number of other measures that are simplistic enough to measure in a commercial farming operation, which will then be able to allow us to value each ewe so that we can select the best performing ewes and essentially use them to produce replacements for the flock in the future.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's Aimee Charteris with news of Smart Shepherd technology. If you want to read more about that, head to farmersweekly.co.nz. Richard Rennie has written a wonderful article about the new technology and where it's heading into the future.
This is Sarah's Country.